I think every home at some point of time have these empty jars. By curling up the measure tape, I can measure the length of the flat bar required. Then I can measure and cut it using the chop saw. To bend the steel we need some kind of a jig. The easy to source was these bolts. The thickness of the bolt depends on the radius at which you want to bend the flat bar. I am going to weld both the heads together so there will be an even gap between the bolts. After tacking and checking if both are parallel, I welded the entire head together so it stays strong. Using the glass jar, I measure where I need the flat bar to be bent. Then I can bend it using the jig which is secured to the vise. After every bend, I check if the bend radius is correct. Once all the sides are bent, I can cut at the intersection point. This will give an even seam for me to weld and close the loop. Here, using a small hammer, I am tapping both the ends to line. The steel is still a little off, but I can apply some pressure and tack it. Now is a good time to check if the loop still slips freely around the glass jar. Now I can weld the seam entirely. The weld needs to be grinded off to give a smooth look. I know, it looks like the entire weld has been grinded off, but it isn't, trust me. So the second loop that I made however had this gap, meaning I did not bend it using proper measurements. To fix it, I have to cut a small piece in the middle and then close the distance. So using a cut-off disc, I cut a small piece off. Then I can tap it around a round piece of pipe to close in on the gap. When hitting it so hard, I broke the weld, which was a good thing because now I can position this piece better and weld it so that the loop becomes a proper fit. Here is the broken weld. You can see it went a little off. I can squeeze it together and tack weld it. To make the handle, I take this square steel rod. To bend the rod, I first mark the position. Then using the angle grinder, I try to cut 45 degrees. This is mostly trial and error. Bend the steel a little and then grind off to an angle and then bend it a little more. Check for the right angle after bending. Now for the second bend. Again measure and cut. But this time I cut too deep and it snapped, but not a problem when we have the welder. Now I have to weld the handles to the loop. I found a square piece of wood, so I slipped the loops in. This way I can clamp them to the work table. You can see I have already welded the bends in the handle. Now I am welding it to the loops. Just after tack welding, I do a test run to see if the glass jar fits again. Wow, that fits nicely. Now off the camera I can weld the handle together properly. The red color on the steel is actually red oxide primer paint. Then I sprayed some 2 coats of black matte paint to finish it off. Cheers to all the beer lovers around the world. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Until next time, happy learning.